estate agent podcast. They're averaging 300 on YouTube.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with the Pozak team, Ken Pozak out of, I believe he's based centrally in Orlando, Florida, and it really has created a business across the state of Florida, all through YouTube. All of it through YouTube, and an incredible journey of over 6 years plugging stuff into YouTube until he had a big hit happen where he actually ended up listing Shaquille O'Neal's house in Florida and got that through his, hey, I do home tours on YouTube. Can I come tour your home? They liked what he did so much, saw how much it blew up, ended up going viral with like 1.5 million views on this house from Shaquille O'Neal's home. And then his page takes off. Because if you look at Ken's page, 100 views, 90 views, 110 views for 3 years straight. That's about all they got. They hit this viral video, and now his entire team is closing, I think, somewhere around like 700 deals a year, where all those leads come from YouTube. And brand is such a huge part of what they do, because Ken doesn't, he's not just out there being like, hey, I'm Ken, I can help you buy or sell your home in Orlando, Florida. It's very strategic in what the Pozak Group does to get clients to come to them. And Ken doesn't sell any homes anymore himself. He's got a whole team of people doing that for him, that he has a great process and system to do the handoff for the best buyer's agent they have for selling Florida, because they do a lot of buy in Florida. They do list, of course, they do listings as well, but YouTube brings in a ton of buyers that are interested in the areas that they are promoting, but as well as people seeing, you're the expert in this area of Florida, in Kissimmee, in Orlando, and they go to him to list their home because of the obvious marketing ability that they have, where they have hundreds and hundreds of views and thousands of views on all of the videos that they do. And we'll talk a little bit about that in terms of brand today and how they really make that happen, because Ken follows a very simple formula, which is consistency, frequency, and quality. We'll talk a little bit about those in your brand and how that can help with your marketing overall. I'm going to plug my computer in here in a moment. We already started the recording, so this one got a little bit behind, but I just want to welcome everybody here. We're here at Keller Williams Downtown. My name is Stephen Delisio. I'm the Market Center Tech Trainer here at Keller Williams Downtown. You may be joining us on YouTube as well. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the class today. And we are here to command your brand. Stand out, build trust, and stay top of mind with your clients and your people to do more deals in less time. And boy, I am excited to bring my friend here in. I'm going to do an introduction, a proper introduction for him in just a moment. But I wanted to tell you all what we're here to do today. First, we're going to dive into what branding is. You've heard a lot about brands. You've seen even more. But branding is so much more than the visual part of what we've experienced or what you might be thinking of. We're going to take it to another level today. And my friend Justin here is going to help us understand it a little bit. The first part of the class, I want you taking notes. It's not going to be anything you need to follow along with, but you do need to be taking notes and ahas, because I'm going to be asking you for those ahas. But also, there's so much value that he has to give. You have somebody who normally an hour with him will cost you about $3,000. Which you may or may not be there for your brand right now. Some of you are, some of you aren't. That might sound expensive, but to get the quality that you get from a professional like Justin, this is what you normally will have, and you get to ask him questions today. You're going to get to hear him speak about brand and how he helps countless other businesses, not just real estate, but other businesses, help them build their brand to a larger level. After that, we're going to help you discover your brand. If you're here in person and you haven't gotten one of these sheets, this is how we're going to help you discover your brand. There's about 10 questions we're going to answer. We're going to go through them together and share some of the answers. So you may not have answers right away, but you're going to get the knowledge of the group to come in and help you with this. We're going to show you a little bit about how AI can help you turn feelings and thoughts into tangible words that you can put onto your website, that you can put into your branding. And we'll show you how all of that integrates into our system, KW Command, because there's only two places that you really have to put things, and then it ends up on your KW website. It ends up on your KW app. It ends up in your smart plans. It ends up in all these different places where you just have to put it into this one spot And then there's a whole nother spot for your designs and marketing, branding, all of that inside of KW Designs, which I know many of you utilize our wonderful marketing director here in the office. But there are things that she's not going to do for you, or the timeline isn't right for you to get them back. And there's a great advantage to utilizing some of the tools that you can load in your branding right into the design system so that it just shows up for you when you need it. And then that will wrap up the class for today. Of course, you see the little evaluation in the corner. I'm going to be asking you all to evaluate the class. It's a very short survey. Many of you have already done it already, and I would love for you to do it again so we can get feedback on this class. Like I mentioned before in the team meeting, this is the first time I've ever done this class, so I'm really excited to hear your feedback, and also the first time I've ever brought somebody else in. I know I can do a lot of stuff, but at some point I realize I need some help sometimes, and branding is not my mindset. I will tell you, this is not the way my mind works. I can't teach about this in an effective way like Justin can. And to mention Justin, well, first, the resources. If you haven't grabbed this already, I put this in the chat a little bit earlier for my Zoomers out here. I'm gonna put it in there one more time in case you came in and didn't get that link. But you can grab that. You can scan the QR code. You can type that in. There are 2 resources in there. Number 1 is the worksheet that I handed all of you here in person. But number 2 is the AI prompt. The prompt is for you to just copy, fill out all the extra information that you add in your details. You paste it into your favorite AI tool, and it's going to give you all the pieces that Command needs, except for your logo. It's going to give you advice on your logo, but it can't create it. I've tried to create AI logos and they suck. It's not worth it. That is when you go to a professional, or if you want to try your hand at Canva. But I learned yesterday from Justin, don't use Canva to build your logos. It can end up really hurting you in the future because of legalities, that you can't legally use a Canva logo that you built in there. And you could end up with a $35,000 lawsuit, I learned, from using a logo built in Canva. This is why you use a professional. I suggest a professional for building your logo. Justin could be that professional. We do not offer logo services here at Keller Williams Downtown, so he's just not going to be the one to fulfill those things. This is something that you're going to want to find a professional, and it could be Fiverr. And there are some advantages and disadvantages to using Fiverr in this case. And there are some really, really good advantages to using a local professional or just a professional in general that can build these things out for you. And Justin will have some services that he'll tell you about, but let me tell you a little bit more about before you do. As soon as I'm done sharing.
Oh, is that one?
Yeah, that's why it's not letting me share. So Justin here, let me get there we go. Justin and I have actually known each other since we were in elementary school. We had no idea that our paths would cross eventually in the future. They ended up doing that. We've been working on projects together now since I started in real estate, from real estate stuff to other things on the internet that we've been working together to do. And I brought him in because I didn't understand brand at all when I first got into business for myself, because I came from education where branding is nothing more than your school's mascot. And then I got into my own business, and understanding branding at a higher level, I just didn't get it. I didn't get it for so many reasons. I built myself a logo. I'm pretty good at graphic design, pretty good, not good enough to be Asia, but good enough that I can create my own logo. And then he came in and was like, let's change some things. And it's more of the understanding of what I got around what brand is beyond a logo, because when I came in, just like many of you, kind of assumed that was the whole thing. It's like, what does my logo look like? That's my brand. And it's so much more. And we're going to go through what that more is. And Justin has had almost 2 decades of experience in this. And I know he looks younger than me, and he isn't, but he's been doing this since a teenager. He's been doing branding and graphic design since he was a teenager, and been a professional independent business owner for over a decade now, doing this same thing. And you have this professional here, so ask questions, take notes when he talks. I'm going to sit down and take notes because I had a whole page of notes just from yesterday's class, and I know I'm going to get more, and I expect you all to get the same, and I'm going to ask you for them. I'm going to ask for feedback of what you're getting from what he says, because it's so different from what I am able to even offer y'all. So I'm excited to have him here. He's going to do his own introduction. Here's a bunch of different logos that you might recognize from stuff that he's done, but I'm going to let him take over. I'm going to stop my share and you should be able to grab the share now. Hello, hello. Again, remember Zoom, if y'all have any questions, use the chat. I'm going to be monitoring the chat while Justin is here and happy to answer any questions as we go. We're having some technical difficulties. Let's get some more brands shared out. Any other brands that stick out in your mind? Hold on, let's see if we can get that full screened. Go ahead, Justin, you can start and I will figure out the visual.
Cool. So, yeah, thank you, sir, for the very kind introduction. I have definitely been a graphic designer and web designer since preteen, honestly. I started teaching myself at like 11 years old. And I've been doing it professionally since 2010. So we're at like 15 years this year as far as professionally being a graphic designer. And I really started focusing on branding very specifically probably around 8 years ago. And it was mostly just understanding that graphic design is fun, but most people aren't interested in buying fun. They're interested in buying something that works. They're interested in purchasing things that are going to help them with their company or their business. And so I started doing my best to offer branding in a sense and learned a lot about it. And of course, he showed a few examples. I've got a couple examples listed up here. Some you might have seen before. And just a few examples of some things that I've done. Quickly, I can make this thing respond to get through them. Got the movement halo. Hey, speaking of the devil, look at that.
What perfect timing. That we did not plan. We did.
Hey.
I think this logo just got done about a year ago, right? You worked with Justin to get this logo going, right? A year and a half? Yeah. What time?
What time? That was fun. Yeah, just a few things. Again, you can see the wide range of stuff that I've helped design. And the thing is in branding, I guess first and foremost, before I go into starting to make what's a powerful brand in that sense, can anybody give me any ideas of what you think a brand is? It's your identity, for sure. It's how people are going to identify you. What else? What else might a brand be? How you make them feel, for sure. Any other ideas for what brands are and as a whole? Perception, for sure. Yes, I think, to be honest, I think those three questions probably wrap it up in like the best description. It's going to be your identity. It's going to be the way you make people feel. And those things are going to absolutely lead to people's perception of you. And therefore, as far as what is a powerful brand is going to be a brand that does three things. One, they're always learning. A powerful brand is always paying attention and always learning, but they're not necessarily learning from themselves. They're not learning from the business. A powerful brand is learning from people. Okay. Branding is all about feelings. It's all about perception. It's all about identity. Therefore, branding is entirely about people. So the more you're learning about people, very specifically outside of your own self, the more you understand about what a powerful brand is. Now, a powerful brand also, they know very specifically that a brand is not just a logo. It's not a website. It's not a visual. It's not a tagline. It's not your marketing. You know, it is a culmination of all of these things put together. And as far as, a perception, I like to think of your brand as your perceptive iceberg, right? So whatever's on top is going to be your brand identity. That's going to be your visual identity, the things people see, the logos, the colors, the car, stuff like that. But underneath it are really a lot of the more important pieces here. We've got your messaging is going to be incredibly important to your brand, how you talk to people and who you're talking to. The experience they have with you, the experience you're having with them. All of these things are going to be part of your brand. Now, you might have heard like corporate branding and personal branding. And in this sense, I'm going to be talking about those things simultaneously. We're talking about just brands because they are the same thing. A brand is the perceptive idea of what you are by other people. So the more you learn about other people, the more you understand about your messaging, about the experience, about the identity. And then there at the TikTok is like your logo, but even in a personal brand, your logo can be your face, right? It's not always necessarily like an actual logo somewhere. A lot of times it's who you are. And I say that because we perceive, so if we're going to think about brands as people, our brains hold brands in the same place that we hold people. So in the same way, I would assume that most of you guys can probably recognize your brothers, sisters, or family or cousins. If they were walking in just by their silhouette, you would know by their gait, by the way they walk, by the way this shape that they have. You don't even have to see what they're wearing or anything. You will immediately see them and understand that's my mom. I know my mom's silhouette. I know exactly who that person is. And our brains remember brands in the same way. Because of that, what's the famous saying I quoted yesterday? People don't remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And that's why powerful brands know to build emotional equity. And by building emotional equity, what they're talking about is that what you're doing with branding is you're connecting to a person's emotions. The more you talk about yourself, the more they don't care anymore. So branding is about the other people from there. And in this sense, I want to think of it like, for you guys, especially for real estate, right? You guys want to be the real estate Willy Wonka of sorts. And Willy Wonka is a really fun example because we all know who Willy Wonka is, and he's so much fun, whether you're watching the new movie with Timothée Chalamet or whatever his name is.
Close enough.
And then, Gene Wilder, the original Willy Wonka. And the thing is, whether you're talking about Johnny Depp, the thing is that Willy Wonka is all about chocolate, but he does not sell chocolate, not once. Now, he's not in there telling you about, the thing that you're being sold on is not the deliciousness of the chocolate. It is that Willy Wonka is selling you a drink, and he understands your drink, and he understands you. And therefore, the more you understand your client, the more you're in a position to sell your client their drinks. The more you understand them, the more you can understand what they want. Because again, if you think of branding from a personal sense, like, oh, my brand must be all about me. Now you're forgetting about your client. And if your client doesn't like chocolate, how do you sell them a chocolate drink if you're selling chocolate? But in reality, Willy Wonka sold all kinds of stuff. He made everlasting gobstoppers and all kinds of weird candies that push and touch on everybody's ideas of like, what if we could do blank? And any good brand that has emotional equity and that has built emotional equity touches you on that level. Now, let me ask, can anybody give me an example of a brand that has ever touched them emotionally? For sure. For sure. I love that example because for two reasons.
Me too.
For two really good reasons, right? Because KW is a special brand. And KW has essentially, whether it touched you emotionally or not, KW has reached out to you in particularly. Because you'll notice that KW does not brand towards homeowners. I have never seen a KW brand that said, buy your home with KW. KW's brand is focused on you. It is focused on agents, right? And then when we get talked to directly by a brand, we say these fun things like, I drank the Kool-Aid, right?
Or God, family, business. Everybody in this room has heard that statement, and it's not by accident. It is very purposeful that statement is associated with KW in all of your heads. And that's what we want you to build for your brand today, is that kind of statement that when they think of Nini as the real estate agent, they don't think of just Nini, they think of God Family Business, just like the way we think of Keller Williams as agents. That's the heart of branding, y'all. That's what we're trying to cross the bridge for you today, is it's not just a logo and seeing your face on every Facebook post and your little headshot on every Instagram and everything like that, that it's branding you there. Brand is so much bigger than just the logo, because logos kind of like, can you think of a logo that really makes you feel something? Probably not. Probably.
Because I'm a dork. That's why.
First Bank,
Yeah.
the Colorado Bank for you.
Space S is one of my favorite things of all time.
Yeah, but he's a branding dork that looks at all that stuff. Told me about a FedEx arrow or something. Did you know there's an arrow in the FedEx logo? Little cup? What are you talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about. That's why this logo piece, it's part of it. Yes, you're right in thinking and knowing that part of your brand is what it visually looks like. But there's so much more to establishing this, and it doesn't happen by accident. The God Family Business statement was not an accident. It was purposeful, it was planned, it was intentional to design a company and attract the right people that found that statement resonated with them.
And also deter the wrong people.
Indeed, it definitely will ostracize some people there, but I want to hear from more. Outside of real estate, what other brands have grabbed your emotional equity where you feel something when you see or hear about these brands? St. Jude on the chat, you saw Sean, who's now here with us in person. Apple, anybody know the Apple feel? It's the exclusive excellence is what I always kind of summarize Apple's branding to. They make you feel like you're the most important person and you're getting the best device that you could have, but yet nearly everybody in this room has an iPhone sitting in front of them that I can see.
And they make you claim a team. So when you have an iPhone, many people that have iPhones will empathize with going, ugh, when you see an Android. And that's by choice. If we're talking as a nerd, the Android is the way higher quality, it's higher technology, it's got all the features. And when you're an Apple guy, it makes it, but that's the point. That is all very intentional. This isn't, and that's why, again, powerful brands are intentional and they're always learning from people, right? That it's not just about learning what they think is the coolest, because if their only main audience are the nerds who work for Apple, then you end up only serving the nerds who work for Apple. Like that's what you've set yourself up for. And so a brand building emotional equity is about understanding and realizing that your brand is not about you. We might be called your brand, it might be called your business, but your business is not about you.
Sorry,
And
we asked a question, then talked a bunch.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Let me get some answers.
Yeah, go for it.
What brands have that emotional equity with you that make you feel something? Oh, for 40 cents a day. Yeah, for 40 cents a day, you can feed this dog or this child in Africa, and definitely, and that I would argue is more marketing and messaging than brand, because you don't know the name of that company. And if you did, their branding would be stronger because they don't focus on their brand, they focus on their message. ASPCA is the company. What other companies come to mind or brands come to mind?
Chick-fil-A.
Why Chick-fil-A? Great example.
Good chicken.
What else?
Very nice.
They're very nice.
That last piece is their brand.
I mean,
Right.
their brand is good customer service. Have you ever had bad customer service at Chick-fil-A?
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten your order wrong? And if you have, did they look at you the same way they do at Burger King when you went and asked for the new one? Right? Or did they just give you the bank like back? And it's part of the experience. And so it's known that if I would like to be spoken to in a nice way, I should go to Chick-fil-A. If I want to have a conversation about the nothing that I did today, I should go sit in line at Dutch Brothers. And it's part of the experience, right? We understand this about it when we go. And for some people, they don't like that. I don't really like small talk. I'm not good at it. I get right to I want to talk about like bigger, honest stuff. I get stuck as soon as I'm in small talk. So I'm not going to Dutch Brothers. That place isn't for me. My girlfriend, however, she's Jen Jones. She wants to talk about everything all the time. And that's perfect for her. That is exactly the place that she wants to be. While she's sitting in line, she loves to talk about whatever they're talking about. And again, that's the whole point, is that it's not for me, and that's okay. A brand is not for everybody. I used to use this metaphor back in the day about like if you're fishing with a net, you're going to get fish, but you're going to get every fish. Every single kind of fish. You're going to get a boot. You're going to get a toilet seat. You're going to get anything that's in that lake when you pull up when you use a net to search for anything. But good brands and good companies are fishing for very specific things. A fisherman doesn't just fish for fish. If you're a commercial fisherman, a lot of times you're looking for tuna, you're looking for grouper. You're very specific, and you know what they like, you know what they want to eat, you know what's going to make them enticed to come towards you. And it's that same kind of idea when we're talking about branding. If you're using a net, you're going to keep getting all the weird spam calls, or the people who are not interested, or the people who keep talking about that they want to see homes, but then you're just spinning your wheels and wasting your time on people who are not interested.
Yeah, they want to go see a home and their credit score is 350. And you're like, did I just waste 2 weekends with this person? And this all comes down to branding. All of this comes down to how you are attracting people in our world, because I love Chick-fil-A as an example, because the one way that we all have the opportunity to differentiate ourselves across from the person next to you or from another brokerage or the other 30,000 agents in Colorado is your service. Because we all take the same tests. We all take the same CEs and get the same commission updates every year. But what differentiates you is how you treat your clients. It's how you give them the experience from when they sign with you to when they close on that home and even beyond that. And your brand should be giving them the hints that tells them these things, that tells them that you are not just a transaction to me, but a client for life, but a friend for life, or however you want to position your brand as what you're going to be as the level of service, not just that you can buy and sell homes, because 30,000 people can buy and sell homes with these folks. And they're going to choose you based on other criteria outside of your ability that you hold a license. Because if you hold a license and you haven't done a bunch of business, you can see it's not enough to run a business as a real estate agent, professional, broker, whatever you want to call it. It's not enough to just be able to buy and sell homes. You have to bring more value than that. Your brand needs to reflect that value at every corner that they see it, whether it's visual, it's a message, it's your Facebook post, it's your emails that you send, it's your events. All of it should be focused from that vision of God, family, business. Because if you look at KW, everything aligns to it. There's nothing that is out of alignment from that statement. And it's very purposeful. It's not just by accident that stuff happens. It's very intentional. And again, that's what we're here to do today. Is to one more time, because I don't see a lot of pencils out right now. Not a lot of pens. Be taking down the ahas, that when you hear something that's like, I need to think about that when I'm doing this, because we're going to get you to the start of where this needs to be. But there are more steps you're going to need to take after today's class. And having some of these notes of the little nuggets that you're grabbing, Chick-fil-A, even writing that down. And when it reminds you, that's the service I want to give, is the level of Chick-fil-A service. That's what I want y'all writing right now while Justin is talking.
Yeah. Well, and let's break off with Chick-fil-A, right? Let's use that because not only are they branded in a way about their customer service, about being a Christian business, and these things that make them they make them more approachable and more appeasing to the right, the right crowd in that sense. The thing that they also do is they're extremely consistent. So it does not matter whether you're at the Chick-fil-A in the mall, or whether you pull up the one in the nice neighborhood, or you pull in one of those new ones that they've made in the middle neighborhoods, because they're still not to the hood yet. But when those little middle neighborhoods every once in a while, you'll still get really good service. You're still gonna get a my pleasure. I had some girl say es mi placer the other day, and like, 'cause she was trying her best to speak Spanish with homegirl in the back and then talk to me in English, and she just turned around and said es mi placer, and then just ran on. I'm like, oh, fun. Even in Spanish I get the same, and it's consistent, right? It's important, and it's what we know about a brand. So if we're thinking about a brand, whether it's that feeling that we're getting from the experience we're having with them, or it's the visual identity when we see them. When you have your company, you want your company to look a certain way all the time. And so that's what we're going to go from right here. We've got your company, okay? And we want your company to look the same everywhere. Therefore, if somebody hops online onto Facebook, to Google, whatever it is, you want to be seen as your company, right? If somebody is in their neighborhood and the house across the street goes up for sale and it's by your company, you want them to think in a sense that they've now seen your company. Every single time they see it, they will remember that in the same place that they remember seeing people. So Robert happens to be one of my best friends, okay? If I see Robert 3 times in a day, I'm just excited, even if I don't get to talk to him. We live a few blocks away from each other, and I never get to see this guy pass by me on the street for whatever reason. But if I did, that would make my day. I'd be so excited. We wouldn't even say nothing. I'd just be, oh, so proud.
Be 2 honks and a wave, and that's all he needs.
So if I saw him and he smiled at me when we drove by, and then later on, I'm on Facebook and I see he sells a house and it's this like positive thing. And then later on, I'm at his house for a Bronco game or something. And we're having a good time. All 3 of these things had led to this interaction I've had with Robert all day. So if you're driving down the street and you see your company, right, somewhere, you want that consistency across, whether you're looking at it, whether it's your headshot on all the realtor organizations or the Zillows or whatever, making sure that you're the same everywhere else. But not only that, that's going to have somebody, if they saw you online and then they see your sign as they're driving by somewhere, when you call them, that might be your first time talking to them. That's your 3rd time having a conversation with them in their own mind. And that consistency is so important. If you can be consistent every single time, if you look the same, if you present yourself in the same way, every single time you see them, you no longer have to worry about if, these skips in the in their experience. All of a sudden now they're getting a piece of that experience every single time they see any piece of you, your company, or your brand in this instance. So the whole point of consistency is that every single time that somebody comes into contact with it, or in my industry, we call that a touch point, okay? Every single touch point tells your story. And if you're interested in telling your story in a way that resonates with your clients, first and foremost, understanding who those clients are is incredibly important. And then consistently making appearances to them is going to have astronomical repercussions on, I guess repercussions almost sounds like a bad thing, or I was going to say consequence. That also sounds bad, but in reality, these are basic words. The consequence of falling is you get hurt. The consequence of consistent branding is people recognize it. Easy. It's easy as that. I don't have a question for this slide. You got one for me, Steve?
We have a question here from.
Oh, perfect. Yes, of course.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
Yeah. That's a great question. So as an agent, you're going to want to take in the jobs that you get. You know, somebody wants to sell their house, doesn't matter if it's your grandma or your neighbor or the owner of the Broncos, right? You don't care. You're just excited that somebody wants to use you as their realtor. And so I would say that you will catch whatever you fish for, right? So if you throw trout bait, you're gonna catch trout. Now, you might accidentally catch a catfish. You might accidentally catch, I'm sorry if I'm losing everybody with my fishing metaphors here, but roll with me, I promise. But you might
We got one.
you know,
We got one who understands every one of these references.
you're going to get what you fish for, right? And that's because if consistency builds trust, and oh, I'm sorry, if your emotional equity builds trust and your consistency tells your story, you're telling the same story to the people who trust you. Does that make sense? Right? So if you want a luxury listing, you need to tell a story that luxury owners or buyers resonate with. If that makes sense. And a really good example is Liv Sotheby's. That was your suggestion, correct? Who's the one that said Liv? Melody. Liv Sotheby's does look very luxurious. Its logo are very thin lines, right? Kind of gives you the sense of almost a fashion brand. That small precision. It's always a lot of blacks with golds on them. And these are all things that look very luxurious. Now, sometimes we can get caught in this position where it's like, well, I like this thing. Well, unless you're the target audience, you're not really helping the rest of everybody else out there. Whereas if you understand what luxury buyers are interested in buying and interested in seeing what they want to see when they're trying to buy a home, you will catch luxury buyers and sellers. And it's really that simple. So if you want to help first-time home buyers, focus on first-time home buyers. And if you would like to help luxury home buyers and sellers, then focus on luxury home buyers and sellers. I will say that as a beginning agent, most folks who use you are gonna already inherently trust you. So they're your friends, they're your family, they're the friends of family, the friends of friends. People who already have an inherent trust for you, therefore that's why they're using you, right? So, of course, maintain what you can about maintaining those relationships, build on those relationships. But if you're interested in luxury brands, the sooner you start focusing on luxury brands, the sooner you'll have one come to you. And I'm not saying that means drop everything to do luxury because then everybody in here is going to get a $3 million list. That's definitely not what I mean. But I promise you that if you only focus on first-time buyers, you're never going to get a $3 million list.
And what I want to add to that is, I think the easy bridge, or maybe not easy, but a bridge between, there's a big difference between the luxury buyer and the first-time home buyer. Can we all agree on that? But you know what doesn't have to be the difference is the experience. Because if you can sell the luxury experience to the first-time home buyer and to the luxury home buyer, now you're bridging both of those gaps. And now more first-time home buyers want to work with you because you're telling them that they get the luxury experience, whether they're buying the $300,000 home or the $3 million home. And that's where I would focus. If I gave you any advice, it would be around make the experience the part that is luxurious, not the home that they're buying, until you have the clientele that does serve, which will just flow perfectly in to where you can still help the first-time home buyer, but now your branding is more focused in that luxury category. But you, as a new agent, where you're building that client database of luxury agents, and this is a lesson for all of us, that it's not always about the product. He mentioned Willy Wonka earlier, where we don't think of Willy Wonka in terms of chocolate. We think in terms of the experience, the movies and the elevator. I always think about the elevator that blasts off into everything else.
Just fantasy.
Into fantasy, because that's what the name Willy Wonka makes you feel fantastical more than chocolate. Because chocolate is just a product. Homes are just a product that people are buying and selling. The experience is why they're choosing to work with you. My 2 cents.
For sure. All great points, all Duly added.
I know I wrote down as an aha for that one, the words on the screen right here, every touch point tells your story. When you're thinking about Facebook posts and email invites and newsletters and all these touch points that I talk about, 36 touch, 72 touch, all these things, this is exactly what Justin is talking about. And how are you telling your story, your experience? How are you telling that when you're sending out those messaging, because messaging is much more about your brand than your logo is. Your logo is the easy part.
Well, let me touch on that story one thing too, right before I go to this next one. As far as your story is concerned, think about any story that's ever resonated with you before. Like any of them.
The hungry caterpillar?
Right off the top of your head, is that a story of abundance? Is it a story of somebody winning every single thing in their life without any tribulation? Typically, every story that resonates with us is going to start as sorrow. We don't like stories where somebody's just winning all the time. Nobody wants to read the book, the biography about Mayweather. We might think we do, but in reality, it's just a bunch of winning over and over. There's no point where it's like he was going to lose and he had to overcome, and something that I can resonate with. I resonate with overcoming. I resonate with being down below. That's what I'm talking about. When you start feeling a story, a lot of times it comes from a place of tribulation first, and it's their overcoming which becomes an inspiration, not just their ability to win. It's winning in the face of loss. It's winning in the face of something. So when it comes to telling your story, remember that. Because when we talk about our own story, a lot of times we want to talk about all the bullshit we did. Look at this cool thing I did. Look how many cool things I was able to accomplish. Look at me. But I can't tell anybody about I had trouble paying bills last month because they'll think less of me. Let me tell you a secret. They'll think more of you. When you can go in there and be like, man, as a realtor, you guys see me posting stuff all the time, and the last 3 months have been kind of rough. And I was able to do 2 more closings this month, and I've got these many more going, and I have to help these people no matter what. I'm here on your side, whether I'm doing great or doing bad. I promise you, that story is going to resonate with people who might be interested in using your brand or your company or your business to do anything, whether it's selling homes. It doesn't matter if you're the loan officer. It doesn't matter about any of it. We resonate very, very highly with tribulations. So I do want to add, if we're going to talk about telling your story, do not leave out the bad parts. If anything, accentuate those parts. The Hunger Games is not a fun movie about some girl who can shoot a bow that wins a tournament. It's 3, 4, 5, 10 movies long. You could keep making them about her hitting roadblock after roadblock after roadblock and overcoming. If you can make yourself a Katniss in your own story, all of a sudden you can resonate with anybody on the other side. And then half of that is understanding, okay, what kinds of tribulations are they resonating with? A first-time home buyer is going to resonate with these things. A middle-class home buyer is going to resonate with these things. A luxury home buyer is going to resonate with these things. And creating and then framing your story around these tribulations is way better than thinking that you have to portray yourself as the $1 million agent who only does $1 million every 2 days and nothing else. And I win, and that's it. In reality, nobody likes that person. Nobody really trusts that person, and nobody feels a connection with that person. And so, yeah.
I wrote down from that speech, authenticity sells. Authenticity is the key, especially if you're a social media oriented marketing agent, where a lot of your marketing happens from social media. Social media lacks authenticity in a serious way. It's why so many of us dislike it, don't like being a part of it, because we can tell the inauthenticity when we're seeing other people and their successes, and all it is success after success after success. And you're like, come on, like that's enough. Authenticity is telling your truth, is sharing with people that it's not just selling home after home after home and checks after checks after checks. That's a national play. And nobody in this room has a national business. I know all of your business.
Well, you know who that brands to? You guys. It brands to nobody buying. Nobody buying cares how many houses you sold. I don't care if you sold 4 or 400. Can you sell my house and help me do what I want to do?
I care
Yes or
about
no?
my experience selling with you and what I can expect from that experience of selling with you, not that you've just sold a bunch of other people's homes that aren't me. That's why Justin is talking about, and he's about to talk about it now, stand out in your market, that you have to differentiate. You have to be different than the other thousands of agents they could work with. Your experience is important. Their experience is important just as much, and if not more important than what your experience is. Because if you have an agent, you're online saying you're a realtor, they're going to just expect that you can do the job. That's baseline. But so can so many other people, and they're going to choose to work with you based on the experience that they expect, based on what they expect from your branding and what you can project to them to show them that this is more than just a purchase. This is more than just a sale of the largest asset they will ever own in most cases. And this is why we're doing a whole class on branding, because it's not just, oh, I'm going to be Lisio's Property Services, which is how I named my company. I didn't put any thought into it except for it was easy to name myself that. It was easy to get my logo. I showed it to Justin. He was like, it's pretty good. It's okay. You're lucky. And I was lucky that the logo that I use.
If you wanted to do pasta, if you did like delicious pasta or something.
This logo that y'all see here, this is my logo. I created it myself. I showed it to Justin. The only thing he's like, it will work only because there's a legacy behind what that looks like. And most of you are like, what legacy? What are you talking about? And he knows because his family grew up in the same little town that logo started in New Mexico. So his grandma knows what that logo is. They've seen that logo, and that's why he was like, it's okay and not terrible, because it has some history that I can lean on, and I have a unique enough name that it can be leaned on in this area. If I went to the East Coast, would never work. And that tells you a story about branding, that branding is more than just you. It's more than just the experience that they see, because it will hold weight with certain people when you can hit those right heartstrings with the brand that you have.
Fun fact, when I told my mom I was hanging out with Steve Delisio of Delicios in Raton, New Mexico, my mom immediately, her eyes blew up and was like, what? Delicios? Because Delicios in her town was the luxury high-end clothes store they never were able to go to. So it was kind of like the rich store.
The Macy's of Raton, New Mexico, baby.
It was. And my mom a Payless lady. So she saw Delicios from across the street, but she had never been in there. So when I told her I was hanging out with a Delisio, she's like, but again, it's all branding. It's how Delisio, that name is branded in her mind as luxury. So there was a piece of her that thought I was hanging out with a pretentious actor, just because it happened.
Thank you. Thank you.
So do I. For what it's worth, powerful brands strive to stand out. Now I know that seems obviously we all want to stand out. How do we stand out for being anything? A lot of times we think about being like a blast of metaphorical color or contrast, of being loud. Like these things come to our idea, like how do you stand out? Well, obviously you need to do these crazy things, right? I want to make sure that we all understand very well that standing out in the market does not necessarily mean being the most colorful in the market, right? Standing out is understanding people. So if I understand me and Steven are walking through a grocery store and we are down the cereal aisle, you're going to see 1 million boxes of cereal. They're going to be all different colors, all different flavors, all different names, all different cartoon characters on the outside, because they are very particularly wanting little kids to go, Mom, pick that one. So that's why they make them that way, right? But if I wanted to stand out on a cereal shelf, I mean, I could make the most colorful box on earth, but in reality, I would have a much better job standing out by making an all black box with no color. Don't even put anything on the front of it. Now, I may not be like marketing or messaging to the people I want to correctly, or maybe I am, depends on what my brand is. But in reality, it's just an example. If the entire neighborhood is still, the way to stand out is to do something different, do anything different.
I think of what's that water company now? It's in cans that looks real good. Liquid Death. Anybody know Liquid Death? And does anybody like metal in here? I didn't think so, but is their branding 100% like metal branded visually? But they've been able to take over the corner store market with carbonated waters.
And let's talk about where they started. Really quick, where they started. Does anybody know how Liquid Death started?
They wanted to look like
In the venue. They wanted people to be able to go to a concert and be sober and not look like dorks holding a water bottle. So you can walk in and you get a 24-ounce can, which is Liquid Death, and there's a skull on it, and it's all black with all the stuff. It looks just like a beer can. If you don't know what the differences are, my dad probably would assume that's a beer can, right? In that sense, that's what they're going for. They're going for a younger market to understand, to look cool while drinking water. And Liquid Death. And the fun part about that is because it's not always about just being the standout in the market. They could have done that 30 years ago. But the problem was 30 years ago, we were all on beer. So if you watched every single show, everybody was getting as drunk as you could get. Everybody was doing as many drunk, like that was part of the cultural norm. In the last 10 years, the cultural norm has turned into this like the self-identity, self-help, understanding, being betterment to yourself, being more healthy, taking on water, drinking more water throughout the day, saying no to alcohol and not having to be like all of a sudden that became part of a cultural norm. At that exact same time, somebody came out and was like, well, you know what sucks about that is that when I'm at a show, I have to drink this goofy Aquafina bottle and look like a dork to everybody, all of my friends who are all doing this other thing. And if I could just have a water that looked like one of these, I wouldn't have to do that. And now they're to the point where that brand has, I mean, they're
Exploded.
They've exploded. They've
2
taken
years.
over most convenience stores.
7-Eleven has pretty much every 7-Eleven carries that brand.
And I promise you,
most grocery stores carry that brand in bulk. I mean, they've exploded. It was all brand. They sell water, y'all. You can get it out of your faucet if you want it.
For what it's worth, they take our Denver water, Denver County, Denver water, right? We've all heard this company, Denver Water, and we all live here. Oh, yes, Denver Water. Denver water is one of the most pure, cleanest waters you can get in all of America. They take our water here. There are companies that sit around that Pepsi that sits over there on in Commerce City. They take the tap water and put it in bottles and sell it as Aquafina to Michigan because their water is not nearly as good as ours.
There's some nerdy stuff behind that, but
there's
only 2 places in America that make water like we get from our taps. And that's why companies can bottle our water and sell it to other states because their states don't have as clean of a process as we do here in Denver. That's why also Aurora, Lakewood, all of them, you see Denver water plants across all of those places. When you go drive around neighborhoods, it's because Denver water has one of the most advanced filtration systems in the nation. Mm-hmm. Only one other place in America has the same filtration system. And I won't bore you with the nerdiness of all that because they also bottle it right now. Mm-hmm. Yes. All right. We got to stop talking about, we got to keep going. We got to keep going.
Now I spent $275 on a can of water from Liquid Death. So the point is that branding, good branding that resonates with you, that touches you, that story will make huge implications for your business, for your brand, for your company. In that sense, standing out of the market is honestly as easy as being the obvious choice. I just wanted to touch on it because a lot of times the obvious choice to us makes us seem like, well, I'll be the obvious choice because I have this many home sales and I. And in reality, no one cares. They care only about themselves. If you can tell me that same list, but tell me how that affects me in 10 different ways, I'll sign by the time you get to number 5. And that's the point. Right? So being out and standing out in the market is about understanding, and again, learning the people, understanding your market, having a target for your audience, and then speaking to them directly. Where are we at on this? Okay. So finally, avoid these pitfalls. Okay, I'm gonna give you 3 pitfalls real quick, things that are you want to avoid with any of your branding at any point in time. And the first one is inconsistency. Now I talked about being consistent, but I want to talk real quick about like social media. Real quick, raise of hands. Who has updated their headshot on the National Realtor whatever database since they got their license? 3. Was that 4? Was that a real one? Okay, 4.
3 out of the 20 people in class are raising their hand. If you're on Zoom, tell us if you have updated your headshot. And I have, y'all, there are agents I work with that their headshots, I'm like, that's you.
Huh?
And they're like, oh yeah, that was 10 years ago. And they like it because they think that because they look better when they were younger. And that when we talk about authenticity and you're putting up a picture on every one of your business cards, that's a picture of you from 10 years ago. And then somebody meets you and there's this automatic disconnect from your brand to their experience. That's what we're trying to avoid when he's talking about updating your headshot. This is about their experience, because too often we make it about ourselves. I don't want to be looking old. Then they meet you, and guess what? When they meet you, they meet you as being old. Like you look at the way you look, and same thing with y'all are nervous about being on video.
Well, think about
I sound different. I don't like the way I sound. Well, turns out you sound that way when you're in person too, but like, I'm afraid to break it to you, but you look and sound the same way when they meet you. So just go out there and be you, because that's what they get.
And name a time anybody's ever catfished you about anything and you were happy about it. Somebody catfished you by having this really cool voice online. Like if you just sounded like that from the beginning, I would have understood who I was talking to, and I would have never gave two craps about it. But I care now because I got an idea of who you are, and then you lifted the veil and you're the Wizard of Oz. And nobody likes that. Nobody appreciates being treated that way. And so consistency is important. You know, you don't want to be, we'll use like social media platforms right now. You don't want to be on Facebook and be whimsical. And I'm this really fun person who I kind of do real estate on the side, but most of snowboarding, and I do all these other things, and it's real fun. But then on Instagram, I am a very professional business person. Please don't talk to me about anything besides real estate. This is my real estate page. My name is Justin Romero, real estate. That's it. Don't talk to me about nothing while I'm here. And then you find me on LinkedIn, and and I like all these other things. And then all of a sudden, if I find you, if I'm looking for you, if I meet Nene down the street and she tells me that she's interested in selling my home, or she could help me sell my home, and I'm interested in that, I'm like, okay, I don't know what anybody else does. I start Googling everybody immediately. It's the first thing I do. I'm putting in your name, and I'm putting plus Denver, and I'm seeing what happens. And I'm going to get all of the things, whether you wanted me to go there or not. I'm going to get anything that Google tells me is there. So if you're not consistent in updating those things, or if you're not consistent in your brand across those, I'm going to meet 3 different people, and it's going to feel like a catfish before I ever call you back.
And we do business with folks we know, like, and trust. And if I have 3 different personas across 3 different platforms, am I building trust or am I breaking trust? Breaking trust there. So consistency is the first key in marketing in general, not just your brand, but marketing in general. I do not care the quality of your consistency. I care more that I see it consistently happening as a consumer than I do making sure that all your videos are cut perfectly and all of your captions are perfectly captioned and emojis and all this extra stuff that we get bogged down with in thinking about what our marketing is, when all really, if you haven't solved the consistency problem in your marketing and your brand, you're really just wasting your time, because consistency comes first before anything else. Just be consistent, and the frequency will then grow. And then after frequency grows, the third step in marketing or branding is quality. We worry about that later. First, just be the same across the board. That's all it takes, is be the same. Get good at being the same, and not having the Instagram persona where you're on vacation all the time, and the Facebook persona where all you do is post closings. Those are 2 different people in the consumer's mind. You gotta Bring the consistency in there so it feels the same in every place.
Most of us would rather eat an okay cheeseburger every time we go to get a cheeseburger than to gamble with the place that says, all right, coin flip, you're either gonna get the best cheeseburger of your life or it's gonna be uncooked and you're gonna get food poisoning.
Or the worst cheeseburger.
Pick one. You're gambling here. If I have between that and an okay cheeseburger, most of us will choose the okay cheeseburger every single time. So the idea is definitely you want to avoid being inconsistent. Now, the next thing to avoid, if I gem of my entire presentation here, this is the gem, and it's gonna seem very simple and very dumb, but I promise you, if you can understand this next piece, you will be 40 steps ahead of anybody else branding within your market, your industry, anywhere. And that itself is gonna be, you want to avoid a self-guided strategy. Now, I talked about that already a little bit, but I'm gonna dive into it real quick. If you do everything about your personal brand based on what you like, you're selling to yourself.
You are going to attract yourself. And how many of you are out there? One.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, I can definitely give an example of that. Because I work with a lot of agents that see something in command and they go, I don't like the way that looks. I don't like the websites and the way that they look. Well, the website's not for you. The website is built very specifically for your consumers and built in a way for your consumers, but because you don't like that, you can't change the font to a font that is the font you like, you don't like the websites. And so you go, I'm going to go pay somebody else $3,000 to build my website so I can get the font that I like. And then your website does diddly squat for your actual business. And you go, why did I spend $3,000 on that? I haven't gotten anything from it.
Yeah,
Well, it's because you were the only person you built the website for. You didn't take the experience for what it's going to others. You took the experience as what you want. And often that's not attracting the clients that you want to work with. You're just attracting yourself, and that's not enough people to run a business on.
Now, that doesn't mean that you can't use your own personal stuff for inspiration. Doesn't mean that you can't resonate with people who have like-minded ideas. Yesterday, we had the example of Yeti, and I think that's a really good example of really good branding, right? Not only is Yeti a cooler on the market that people will pay $400 for a cooler, but they also understand that if you're interested in a rugged cooler that costs $400 that keeps your icy for a week and a half straight in the middle of the sun, you're probably interested in being outdoors a lot. You're probably interested in the wilderness or your boat or anything that has to do with being outside and being rugged in those ways. And so I think Yeti is like a fantastic way of like, okay, you can now mix and you can overlap these things that are interests. I'm sure the person who came up with Yeti loves being outside. Probably why they did it in the first place. But they resonate with everybody else by talking about those things. They use that stuff. They have videos online about, 15, 20-minute videos that you can go watch where you watch some like tour, like a fishing guide or a hunting guide or somebody talk about their business. And in that, they're using a Yeti the whole time, but that's not what the video is about. And it resonates with everybody who likes Yeti, because if you like Yeti, very likely like all this outdoor thing. And it puts it all together. So it's not about not using the things that you like. It's about seeing, okay, what do I like? And then what's going to overlap with the people that I work with? How can I use what I like as something to attract other like-minded people in that sense? Rather than a self-guided strategy where you're like, well, what's cool is I really like sewing. So I want to make sure that it looks like I want a sewing machine on my bar. And because of that, it needs to be floral. And I like really nice, whimsical script here. And might even be a little bit hard to read, but that's okay. And it's not about that. I like that. And it's my brand. And because it's my brand, it must be about me. And in reality, you see a card like this, would you hire them to sell your house or to sew your jeans? And that's what it's really about, is if you get so stuck on yourself that you're not thinking about that outside person. And again, I call this the gem of the presentation because you've probably heard this before. It's been said a million times in other ways, but for some reason, very few people actually grasp it. Very few people understand how to get out of their own self and stop doing that thing so that they can wear like a different outfit without feeling like a dork for wearing some outfit that they're not wearing. Not realizing that if they wear what they like to wear and they're a doctor, their patient is not going to take them any kind of serious. If you don't walk in with a stethoscope around your neck, I'm not talking to you about my health. And that's part of the brand. And so it's like, it's very, very important that you do not have a self-guided personal brand. Your personal brand can absolutely, you should utilize yourself, your story, but it should be an overlapping circle with anything that your clients have that they hold as far as their story into their heart. Because if you can grasp that, again, it puts you 40 clicks ahead of anybody else that's doing anything online. And clicks is a fun word for that, considering I was talking about online. Didn't realize that pun in my mind there. And then finally, you want to avoid anything. If Steven sells 100 houses this year, and you go, man, Steven's killing it. And so you look at his logo and you decide, well, his is Lisio's, mine's going to be Romero's. And you see how he had a little circle? I need a little circle. And it looks kind of hand-drawn, so I want mine to be hand-drawn. And there's a little plant on there, but I like this kind of plant, so I'm going to make my plant. And in reality, what you're doing is you're copying somebody's end result. And if anybody's ever made anything here, has anybody ever made a cake? Has anybody ever copied the cake based on a cake they saw? Or did they follow the recipe? If you try to copy a cake based on the cake that's in front of you, you might even, people make, actually a good example, let's spin that back. Imagine making anything, right? And copying it from the end result. A really good fun idea is that people make cakes out of shit, right? Like they just make cakes. You put a basketball, looks like a real basketball, and then you cut it and it's a cake. And that's real fun. That's a really fun thing, unless you want to play basketball.
Or eat the cake.
Or eat the cake. And if I wanted to play basketball and I grabbed a basketball and I threw it on the ground and it just bounced and it was actually a cake, it wouldn't matter if you copied every single piece of how well that basketball is made. You didn't make a basketball. And that's why you don't want to copy anybody else's brand. If you're copying anything that you see that somebody else is doing right, what you're copying is their end result. And you're copying what they're doing. And you need to copy the formula. You need to go back and say, okay, if somebody's doing something really cool, I don't need to copy the logo they're using. I need to zoom out and see what types of things are going into that logo. What type of work did they do for that? Did they hire somebody? And if they hired somebody, I wonder what the backstory is there. And you can start moving these pieces forward. And all of a sudden, when you look at a cake, and rather than seeing the cake and going, I'm going to copy this cake and make it from whatever I have at home. And instead you go, okay, that's a strawberry cake. So I got to start with strawberries. But also, there's got to be eggs because it's a cake. I don't see the eggs, but they've got to be in there. And then you can start from a place where even if you make an entirely different cake, chances are it's going to be okay. At the very least, chances are you're going to end up with your own masterpiece, with something that somebody else is going to look at and they're going to go, I want to copy that. And the problem that most of us have is we want to copy somebody's end result rather than copying the recipe that got us there or the steps that it takes to move something. So we want to avoid copy paste when it comes to branding entirely. And then I'll hit on the next one after Steve.
So I want to just bring that analogy into something I see all the time. Copying an end result versus following the model, which is what you'll hear me talk about a lot more than formula or the recipe, but it is the model. And often I hear agents go, Stephen, can you show me how to make Facebook ads? We go, yeah, I can show you how to make Facebook ads, which is the final product. I want an ad to go out that brings me leads. I see it all the time. But then when I talk to them about the model of the work it takes to actually make that recipe work in the end, it starts to get a little bit uglier. They start to see the work Because it takes a lot of work to make that cake taste as good as the famous Gordon Ramsay cake versus the one that you're just looking at it on Instagram and going, I can do that. I can put that together and not following any recipe. But Facebook ads are a great example of what agents will grab onto it. I want the result. I want leads. And then they look at the formula to actually get those leads to get closings, because what they really want is closings, not leads, right? We don't want leads. We want closings. We want appointments. But if you're following the end product, I can get you Facebook ads that dump leads into your account all day, and you will be pissed at me in a month going, Steven, you just made me pay $300 for a bunch of people that don't want to do anything. Well, did you follow the model? Did you follow up with them? How'd you follow up? Did you put them on a smart plan? Did you text them? Did you email them? Did you call them? Did you message them? Did you do everything you can to follow up with them? You go, no. Well, you didn't follow the model. All you did was try and copy the end result, because that's different than following a model. Trying to just produce what the end result is way different than actually following the model to get the result that they're getting, which is what you really want. And when we follow our brand and we're doing a brand, it's the same thing Justin is saying, is that there's no easy path to just be able to take somebody else's idea and just make it yours. Branding is so much more complex than that. And our consumers are so much more savvy and smarter than that. They can sniff that kind of stuff out instantly, that you are not being authentic, that you just grabbed something off the shelf, called it yours, spit on it, shine it up a little bit and said, this is my brand. It doesn't work that way. It can, it will be on your Facebook post. It will be on there. You'll be consistent maybe with putting that out there, but you'll look back at this class and go, none of that worked. That didn't help anything. Because you have to take the time to really understand what your brand is. And that's where we're going right after this. After Justin finishes his last piece, we're going to get to your brand on this worksheet.
One more thing, not when it comes to your brand. This is going to be very specific to this new AI world we're in. I want you to please do not copy paste from ChatGPT or insert your favorite LLM is what they're called, your favorite AI generator. Please do not copy directly from there into Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever it is. I don't know how much more annoying it can get to see emoji listicles in pairs of 3 or that big long, it's actually it's an extended hyphen that most folks have no idea how to even make with their keyboard, yet somehow every single realtor in Denver has this big old long hyphen splitting up these sentences in ways that they don't even understand what they're doing. And in reality, what you're doing is you're setting yourself up for somebody like me to go, gross. You're not writing any of that. None of that is yours. Now, I'm not saying that you can't use AI. I encourage it. Use AI. AI.
Link to later.
I use AI. I used AI for half of this presentation. I don't know if you guys saw that cool Willy Wonka, but I don't know anywhere else where I can get Willy Wonka holding a chocolate house besides asking AI to do it or spending 17 hours rendering one from 3D. When you give me the choice, I'm going AI. But the point is that I also recolored him. I also made sure that he had the right amount of fingers because I'm a graphic designer and I spent 30 minutes touching him up to make him look good enough to throw up there so that you guys don't understand it. And that's all it takes. You throw in ChatGPT, what's a good post for me to do as a realtor in Denver? You give it some information, all of a sudden, boom, pops you out this post. Now, take that post and instead of copying it directly into Facebook, copy it into Microsoft Word or Google Docs or anything, and just read it to yourself. Is this what I would say? Very likely not, because ChatGPT said it. So then do the 5-year-old thing you might do with a 5-year-old. Then what would you say? Do the same thing as yourself. What would I say then, self? And then, okay, well, I would say it this way. Now you were able to skip half of the hard part. You could have sat there for hours and thought about a good list and thought about some really important information that you could share with your clients, and it would have had the exact same effect. So you saved a bunch of time by not having to do that. But you still deliver it in a way that when I read it, I go, yeah, that's Robert. I know Robert. Text him all the time. Talk to him on the phone. The last thing I want to see is my man's using a big old long dash that he doesn't even know how to use on a keyboard. I'm sure that because if he knew how to use it, he would have called me and asked me how to figure it out, and I would have told him how to use it.
Yeah, this guy doesn't even know the name of it. It's called an M dash.
There you go.
And most of us don't know the difference between a dash and an M dash. And there's a way.
And there's 3 of them. There's 3 of them on a keyboard. Bet you had no idea. You thought there was just a dash. There's a dash, there's a mid dash, there's a long dash. There's also an enter point. Then there's a midpoint. And these are all characters that any keyboard can make. But if you don't know the code, then you can't make it. And I promise none of you guys know the code for an M dash.
I don't know it. And if I don't know it, there's a good chance y'all don't know it either.
Yeah. It's, you hold Alt and then I think it's 1 second.
We don't need to know.
But either way,
They don't need to know. They don't need to know.
I'm the dork inside the class. That's the point, right? And so it's so easy for me to point out just by the language, by the punctuation use. All of a sudden, somebody goes from being like not really knowing a lot of like standard English and how to type to being the most prolific grammar assassin I've ever seen in my whole life. And it's like these things don't mix. And you're not fooling anybody. It's that same idea of authenticity. And there's a point where if everybody is copy pasting this great grammatical content coming from ChatGPT, we just talked about it. How do we stand out, Steve?
I mean, different.
Be the person who doesn't have any grammar. Be the person who doesn't use any punctuation. And I promise you, at the very least, I'll read your post, right? And so you can do that intentionally in a way where you type it. Like you can type it. Remember back in the day, 10 years ago, when people used to type with like a little character and then a big character and a little one and then a big one, and they thought it made their stuff look cooler. At this point, you could utilize something like that to stand out. All of a sudden, you have my attention. Write your first sentence that way. And write it about how everybody's using ChatGPT and do it in a way where you obviously did not use ChatGPT and you've got my attention. And you've got the attention of anybody else who has seen anybody else post anything with ChatGPT. And not only that, it's more authentic. Now I know more about you. Now I know Ruben's kind of funny, right? Now I'm like, oh, okay, he's got some sense of humor. This is cool. I appreciate that. I like your story. You see what I mean? Now I get to resonate with you rather than you putting what you thought looked the most pretentious and you're coming off like you have no idea how to do anything besides ask ChatGPT. What's a good post for realtors? So please, 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 please do not copy from ChatGPT directly to Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or insert your favorite social media. I promise you, it's not just me who knows. Everybody gets the idea of it. In the same way that, one more time for Liv Sotheby, I understand that brand being a luxurious brand. I also, as a designer, can explain exactly why it's a luxurious brand. And while, I'm sorry, I spaced your name, Melody. Well, Melody does not have the vocabulary or the knowledge, the educational knowledge to understand that Liv Sotheby is a luxury brand. She still knows it. She just can't tell you why. That doesn't mean she doesn't know, and that doesn't mean that she doesn't see it. And in that same way, not everybody understands why this thing looks like it was copy-paste from ChatGPT. They just know it looks generic.
And I'll tell you,
just know it looks redundant.
If they don't know now, they will in 6 months.
Absolutely.
Our consumer market, like how quickly did they catch on to our text messages that were bulk text messages? And people stopped responding to those after they got 100 political ones. And they're like, oh, texting is now a place where I can't expect it to be a person. I can expect it to be, if it's a company texting me, it's a computer texting me, not a real person. Our consumers are smart and they're getting smarter and smarter every day with AI generated content and being able to sniff it out and move right past it real quick, where they instantly can see a post without reading a single word, but just the structure, they can go right past that post and move on. And that's what he's saying, is that you're never going to stand out. You're only helping yourself blend in with the crowd the more you copy and paste. You have to stand out a little bit. And the beauty or the nice thing for us is ChatGPT is still doing, or any AI tool is still doing 80% of the heavy lifting. You're just being asked to do that 20% to polish it up and make it not AI generated. And it only takes that 20% of effort to have the tool help you. And that's what we're going to help you with as well with the questions that we ask you. And you're going to be given a tool to put into ChatGPT, to AI, or whatever tool you prefer, to generate some of this stuff like taglines, like slogans, like vision statements that we need for our business. But it comes from the questions that we're going to answer here in just a moment. So I'll let Justin wrap up, then we'll get into that.
Sweet. And then finally, as far as things that powerful brands have or do or want to do, brands know something that I'm sure most agents know about selling homes. And if I give a quick example in that sense, has anybody here ever sold to a loan officer or somebody that is with like in the extended real estate market?
Right?
Was that-
Inspector, roofer.
Was that the easiest
insurance.
or the hardest transaction? Yours was the hardest? Oh, see, that's hard. That's hard.
That's always good.
That's a
They make
little
it
different.
hard.
That's a little
They make
different.
it
That is hard. Ruben, how was yours? It was hard for who was it for?
So, I worked with two different. First one. My very first deal, so very easy for.
Yeah.
And the second one, was just a really patient. We had a minor for medication during inspection. She wanted $10,000 credit.
Yeah.
So it was a way for her.
Man, I can only imagine, because one of the hardest things to do is to sell to somebody who thinks they know already. So somebody in that industry, in the extended real estate industry, is going to think they know more about selling the home, and you're just the pawn. You're the mouse, and I'm gonna be the clicker, right? That's how they see that. And in reality, has anybody sold to a fellow real estate agent? Let me tell you a secret about anybody who's ever sold to fellow real estate agents. Typically, it's the easiest sale of all time, because a real estate agent knows all the shit you're doing and the stuff that they don't want to do. Excuse my language, but they don't want to do that stuff, which is why they hired you, and they know what it takes, so they hand it to you. I don't want nothing to do with any of this. I am now the owner of a restaurant. I used to be a real estate agent. Now I'm the owner of a restaurant. You're the real estate agent. I know what you're going to do. Get out there and be somebody. And then they hand you money, and it becomes the easiest thing that you can do, because somebody who actually knows that it's a lot harder than somebody who thinks they know. So the problem too with branding is, as soon as you learn a little bit about branding, all of a sudden people start talking about, oh, I know. You know how many Gary V's I've seen? You know how many names the entrepreneurs that I've seen talk about whatever and brands and talk to me about branding? I'm basically a branding expert, right? Well, let me tell you the difference. Powerful brands know to team with an expert. Just like a real estate agent who's no longer a real estate agent knows to team with a professional to do the thing in that moment. Somebody who is dedicating their time. Now, when I say this, of course, I'm standing here. I'm an expert. Hello, everybody, look at me. In reality, you don't have to hire me. I am not the cheapest guy in town. It's hard to hire a branding expert, but hire somebody. Hire any expert, and at least somebody who's going to dedicate their time to branding. If you want your brand to excel, you need to hire somebody who spends their time branding. In the same way that if I want my house to sell, I don't need to call my cousin who's been a realtor for 3 years but hasn't sold a home yet. In reality, my home, if I want to sell my home, I need to call somebody who's selling homes, who focuses on selling homes, who's in the market right now, somebody who's attending real estate classes to understand more about their own business and understand more how to help other people. So in that sense, team with an expert. If you happen to be interested in teaming with me, by all means, check out my website, bicepsatellite.com/real estate. A few of you have already received. Shout out to Rob, who helped me with it and also with it. I put together a real estate package very specifically for trying to help out branding for real estate agents and real estate teams at a more accessible cost for you guys. Also, for what it's worth, I don't mean to do that thing where it's like, oh, limited time only. I'm only one person. I don't have a full team. Therefore, I got space for about 1 or 2 more agents right now. If anybody happens to be interested, I'm not saying that like the hurry, jump on it. I just mean it in reality that if you end up calling and I'm like, sorry, I can't fit you in this month, please don't be upset at me. And in any case, hire anybody. Hire somebody who cares about your brand, and your brand will make exponential strides forward. Yeah, I think that's it. Anything else that you have for me before I get out of here, Steve?
Not me, y'all. Any questions for Justin before he wraps up?
I was gonna
here?
ask them next.
I will put up his slide again at the end, but I'm gonna put my share back up, so, because we got a lot of work to do, and I'm gonna make sure that y'all still get the content and still get out of here on time. But I'll make you some videos.
Oh, and then, so let me finish up. Final note of anything. If you are interested in your own brand, in understanding your brand, in making progress towards your brand, and you are not interested in hiring an expert right now, maybe you're just starting and you're not in a position, you're like, okay, this is gonna be interesting later, but at this moment, I'm kind of by myself, I'm kind of just trying to move it forward. I'd like to do some stuff on my own. I highly recommend Zag by Marty Newmeyer. Okay, if you're a book reader or an audio book reader, by all means, this is a branding gem. This is one of those ones that the other branding agents don't want you to know. And as somebody who brands and works with and is friends with hundreds of real estate agents in the Denver metro area, I want you guys all to read this book because I'm extremely annoyed by everybody's Facebook posts. So, it's Marty Newmeyer, and this is a two-part book. I believe this is the second part of a two-part series. The first one is the brand gap. That one, I believe, kind of leans more towards helping folks like me. Help folks like you. If you want to read it, by all means. But Zag, very specifically, will have you, if at this point you will have a very clear surface level understanding of branding, why it's important. You'll no longer feel like it's some weird technical hype term that somebody's using to try to make money off of you. You'll understand very quickly why it's so important. And you'll relearn, especially in depth, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here. Zag by Marty Newmeyer. Name for if everybody's zigging, you zag. And that's it. That's what I got. So thanks for having me, guys. Hope you learned something. Hope I wasn't just talking. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Otherwise, thank you.
Definitely reach out, write down the Bison Satellite email address if you didn't. Like I said, I'll put it back up there at the end. But even in the future, like his branding changes often and his busyness changes often as well. So just because 1 month isn't available.
And I'll leave a few cards up here in case you guys want them.
Thank you. Thank you. And we are a little short on time, and I want to keep you all here only. But yeah, Justin was rolling, and I think we're getting good stuff. Did you all get some good ahas? Share 2 ahas with me before we move on. I got a whole list, so if you need my ahas, I can share them. Oh my gosh, if everybody doesn't write that down, you're missing out on today's learning. Consistency builds trust. What else? One more. Again, these are the ahas that you want to grab from understanding how to build your brand. And now I want y'all to, if you haven't already, if you're in class with me right now, you probably have one of the worksheets that I've handed you. If you aren't, or if you're on Zoom, if you don't have one, you can scan the QR code and get it. You can also go to the link on the screen, bit.ly/brand273, and you can get the actual digital form of the worksheet that we have here today, because we're going to go through these questions together and we're going to answer some of them, because some of them are difficult questions to answer, and hearing some other people's answers may be helpful for you. And so what I want y'all to do right now is go ahead and grab that sheet right now in front of you, and we're going to look at 5 questions in section 1. What you do and who you help. One of the most important things you can do for your brand is identify the audience, and you're going to do that in question 1. Their frustrations and fears as clients, what you are really good at, understanding that, and what makes you different. We talked about differentiation with Justin. What makes you different, and what are the real estate beliefs? And we're going to talk about the 5th question on here. I'm going to give you guys, I think you'll need about 3 minutes to get a good amount of this work done. Don't worry about it being perfect. Get the ideas down. All that energy that Justin just gave you around your brand, put it on the paper now. Don't worry about being perfect. Don't worry about being exact. Get the ideas down on paper with the questions that we're asking here, and then we'll come back in 3 minutes with some answers to talk about as a group so that we can talk about, and specifically, we're going to talk about question number 5. What is something you believe about real estate that your ideal client would say about you? 3 minutes, go. There we go. Dan's a tech master now these days. Does anybody want I have one more of these. Thank you, Sean, for getting. I never know, 18 people registered. I never know who's showing up on Zoom, who's showing up. And some people like Sean show up for half the class on Zoom, the other half in person. So I'm always like, I don't want to waste the paper of the office, but let me make sure I get enough. No, these are for you. These are for you to keep. Yeah, these are 100% for you to take, because this is not going to be enough that you can leave today and go, my brand is done. No, this is the kickoff for getting your brand started. Got another minute. We're working fast right now. Get those ideas down. Don't worry about spelling, grammar, or anything like that. Get those ideas down. All right, you can finish writing while I talk about this first piece. I want to give a little advice on audience. Audience, you want to be specific. If your audience was as general as first-time home buyers, that's not specific enough. It is too hard to talk to all the thousands of first-time home buyers. But if your audience becomes first-time home buyers who speak Spanish as a second language, who have children, now you have an audience to speak to. Now I can easily put every message I put on Facebook that speaks directly to that bilingual person trying to buy their first home who has children. I can speak to that person very directly. Do you need more space for your kids? Are you tired of paying your landlord's mortgage? Those are messages I can direct right into that person, where first-time home buyer, our messaging ends up being so generic, it doesn't actually attract any of the first-time home buyers. So I want you to look at your audience that you wrote down and think a little bit. Is that dialed down enough for me to really speak to a person and not to the audience in general? Because you should be able to imagine the one person in your audience that is so specific that you have that person in your head so that you can speak to them all the time when you're trying to develop your messaging, when you're writing your emails, when you're writing your Facebook posts, your Instagram posts. All of it should be that specific. But I'd like us to share out a little bit of question number 5. Something you believe about real estate that your ideal client would also believe or also say about you. What did someone write down for that? That's number 5, correct.
I wrote down.
Love it. Informed decision is what I hear from that. Informed is really the word that I'm catching as a client or as a consumer. Informed, that Ruben is going to inform me. Education is where I go even to the next level, that you are education focused. When I hear that, that is your style. What else? What else do we hear? Sean? Buying or selling a home is a milestone in your life. And if you didn't know, Sean's brand is Milestone Homes. Do you hear the consistency within what he wants his clients to say about him and what his brand is lined up to set him up for that? This is the intention you need in your brand. And Sean, when did you start that branding? How many years ago? 2016. So we're talking 4, 5, 9 years. It takes time to get to that level if you're just doing it when you fall into it. Because I know you weren't that intentional when you're like mountains, miles, mile high, milestone, it came about. And now he's adapting his brand to fit. Y'all have the opportunity to get ahead of 9 years of experience building that and get to something that brings that up in a year, that brings forward the effectiveness of a brand and the continuity of a brand much faster than 9 years, which I'm not saying anything against Sean. He's done a great job. But y'all don't need to take 9 years. It doesn't need to take this much time when you take a little intention before. How about one more and then we'll move on to the next section. One more share of what should they believe about your real estate brand. And Zoom, you can always drop it in the chat. I'm still checking the chat. I haven't seen any action in there recently, but if you're in there, throw it into the chat and I'll share it with the group. Best decision for you. How many of our clients, that's all they want? They want the best decision for them, and they know that they need help finding that answer to what the right answer is there. Beautiful. I love it. Let's move on to the next section, which this now brings, we have from Shannon online, smooth and quick process. That's what she wants to have them say about her inside the branding, inside their experience, smooth and quick process. Where I love that word smooth. Definitely need to put a little bit more definition in there. But let's keep going with our brand personality. Number 1 is your personality there. And number 2 is 3 words that you want clients to use when describing you. And I want y'all, because of time, let's skip to number 7. I just want you to put down the 3 words. You got 1 minute to put down the 3 words you want clients to use. And we're going to share out some of those words. And again, these are all building to help you build out your brand in general. So don't try and put your brand in these words. I want you just to think of the 3 words you want clients to describe your business as, their experience as. This is my favorite question on the list, by the way. I think it's the most revealing of any of them because it's so simple. 3 words, that's all you get. Write them down. About 30 more seconds. All right, let's share out some. Who wants to share their 3 words? Rob? Confident. Ooh, I like that. Confident, wise, fun. Why'd you put fun in there? And notice he didn't put coaching football as the last thing, because Rob coaches football. He enjoys coaching football. But do you see how that might be a little too small of a category of some words that want to identify? That's too much Rob. in there, but fun. Can everybody identify with wanting to have fun? And do a lot of people think that this process is not fun? And he's shifting that dynamic with making that be part of his brand with the word fun. All right, let's get another triplet of words. Zoom, I'd love to see some in the chat as well. What triplets did you put down? 3 words that you put down for your business. While we wait for Zoom, who else wants to share? Yes. Did you hear his first answer? Education focus. What was the first word he put in there? Knowledgeable. Education focused. He's starting to develop his brand that is around education, about teaching, about informing people for this, which is a lot of us, that's what we pride ourselves in, is that we're really good at explaining the process, making people feel comfortable in a very complex, very important, very life-changing process that's scary. And when you can come out and be the one that says, I'm going to make it feel easy, that's going to attract people. All right, one more. I don't have any more from Zoom. One more, and then we'll move on to the last section, and then we'll get you guys wrapped up because I'm going to be respectful of your time, please. Trustworthy, fun, knowledgeable. I love it. Combination of some of the ones that we've heard, and that's the point of sharing, so that y'all can hear what other people are thinking, and you're going to take this to your next level of really defining it for who you are yourself. And this last piece, where we are going to talk about your visual vibe, which I learned yesterday, designers like Justin call your identity, your brand identity. Me, I was like, visual vibe, that makes sense to me, because again, this is not my mindset. And I want you all to think a little bit about number 8 is simple. You're just going to circle something on number 8. Number 9 is what colors. And number 10 is what would your logo say as a silent message? And this is the question we're going to share. If your logo is just up there, what is the silent message you want your logo to say? Don't think about what the logo has to look like. That's a person's job, like Justin. Their job is to make that logo feel the way you write down what you write down right now. And so 1 more minute. What is the silent message you want your brand to be speaking? Think about it, write it down. Oh, did you write down any of the silent messages? I didn't. I taught it at KWAR yesterday. Thank you. Look out for the email. There'll be some good stuff in the email for tomorrow. You're registered? Okay. Thank you. You did or didn't register? What's your email? That's good. That's good. I'll get you in there. Okay, that's going to be a problem, but all right. Where did mine? There it is. So let's share out a few, because I know we're getting antsy to leave, watching people get up. Anybody have one that they knew right out the gate? I bet Sean did. So what I need you to do, Nevaeh, is you got to get that down to like 3 words. Because you gave it to us in like 10, and I hear what you're saying. But if your logo gives me 25 words, that's confusion. That's not clarity. Right? And you want your brand to be clear. So I love what you're saying. I hear you, but you gotta mash it into 3 or 4 words that you want them to feel, because inspiring is the start there. But then you went off on 20 other words that was like this, and this. Because inspiring and 1 more word that fits all that, that's the silent message. You hear what I'm saying? Y'all hear how There's too much. We're not going to ever get 30 words out of a logo in a good way. Oh, so now we have a direction with our logo. I could see the group nodding, being like, okay, I can see a logo in my head that I feel is inspiring and empowering. Let's hear some other silent messages. What else are we coming up with? Well, you all tell her which one y'all like better. Okay. Ooh. I love the generational wealth one because it makes me think bigger than what I did before. It turns it into buying a house to building a legacy. And that's how many of us, that's really our goal. I know there's a lot of people who came from nothing that are now something, and they want to share that something with other people, and they've done that through real estate. And if you can get your brand to be that for people, it will shake people, right? And when your brand is your story, like Justin said, when we make that authenticity just be so obvious to them, that's when brands work. That's when brands resonate with people, and it attracts and magnetizes you to those people that want to do the same thing. And that they understand with just looking at your brand that that person understands me because they aren't very different from me. Love it. I love it. What was the last one I got excited about this second? Realize your dreams, a simplified version, right? I even like that second one even more because it doesn't feel as intimidating as generational wealth, which to some people, they don't even know what that means. That's a word that just is fancy internet talk for getting rich. And it doesn't mean what it means when you've done the hard work to get there, to start establishing something like that. But dreams is something that everybody has, right? And home ownership dreams is something that nearly every American has. I love to hear that, bringing in that audience a little bit more in such a generalized statement. How about one more, and then we'll wrap this up because it's right about 3 right now. One more silent message shared.
What's your mind? We take credit in what we do, and therefore we'll.
Okay. A little long,
Right.
right? Silent message, but I hear it all there. Y'all hear it with that? But I don't hear the other stuff you were talking about. I don't hear the education side of things as much. Was it in there? Did I miss it? Right? Consistency comes across all these things. From what it looks like to what it feels like. We got to keep that consistency, because if you're education, then you break off and your brand is all a stack of gold and you're about education, but your brand shows let's get rich together. There's a disconnect there. You know what I mean? Line them up, Ruben, line them up. And for everybody, once you get through this worksheet and you go through, you answer all the questions you might not have had time to answer, spend 5 more minutes after class or later this weekend doing it, and then look through and say, how consistent are my answers? Am I all over the place? Am I education here, then I'm experience here, then I'm get rich here, then I'm family wealth over here? That might not align very well. Line them up. Line them up, because after this, here's what I have for y'all to wrap up the class with. Well, I just mentioned review your answers and make any adjustments. And then we're not going to talk about that. I have a class coming up next week. That's all I'm going to say. Follow-up class is going to be good. But if you scan those resources, you also have an AI document that's called the AI prompt. And all you need to do with that prompt is you will see that prompt looks just like this. Let me pull it up for y'all so you can see what it's looking like. Looks just like this on the screen here. And all you have to do in your favorite AI tool is copy and paste this prompt from this piece here, I am a real estate professional, all the way down to the very end where it talks about avoiding cliches, because I instruct the AI to avoid stuff that sounds like a cliche. But anything that you saw highlighted in yellow, that's what you need to edit. And the first part here at the very top is just a description of who you are. I gave it a basic description. I'm a real estate agent, Denver metro area. I want to brand myself, competitive market, blah, blah, blah. But if you add in more details about you, I've been in the Denver metro area for 25 years. I've lived here. I've been a licensed agent for 15 of those years. I've helped 115 families. I focus in on Lakewood, Colorado, and buying first-time homes for people, right? When you add all that into this first section, your AI is going to be even better as a response for building out some of this content that it's going to do for you. Then the second piece that you need to edit is down here, the worksheet answers. And it's as simple as just taking what you put on the worksheet today and plugging them in where it says to do so here. And I have it very obviously, section 1, question 1, section 1, question 2. Those are the answers that you drop in here. Then you take that whole thing, drop it into your favorite AI. I went through and used I just went through and dropped it, that same stuff into ChatGPT, into Claude, and into Copilot, Microsoft, 3 different AI tools. And just read the memorable slogan. I put the same thing into each one, the exact same prompt. And for ChatGPT slogan, your path to home made simple, or turning overwhelmed into empowered. Because I asked it to give you guys 2. So you'll get 2 responses for each of these, just like you see here. Then when you go over to Claude, Claude said slogans are calm guidance, clear path, confident decisions, your first home, my first priority. Yeah, I don't like the first one there, but I like the second one. And then Copilot, the Microsoft one, same prompt, but now this one says turning stress into confidence, one home at a time. Your calm guide through Denver's competitive market. So you're going to get different responses based on the tool. But what I'm showing you here is you can use any tool and get good stuff, but you need to do what Justin said. This is giving you the 80% of the work. You need to go through and change the word your calm guide through Denver's competitive market. And it might be something a little bit more like your trusted guide in Denver's Denver's booming market, or whatever it is that you adjust it to be. It all works in these AI tools, but you will get different responses based on which tool you're using. I am a ChatGPT user myself. I pay for it. It gives you better responses when you pay for it. I assume that's the case with any of the AIs and their pay versus free structures, but a great tool for y'all to use. That is the AI piece of all of this. You have the tools. I will put out a video of you seeing me copy and paste and put the answers in and drop it into my ChatGPT so you can watch me do it if you need that help. Also, great opportunity to sit down with me for 30 minutes and we can do that together. And then last, where's it all going? Command. Because all of this has a place in command. And the nice thing is, I don't need too much time to tell you where. There's 2 places it goes. Number 1 is your marketing profile. The most important place is to go into your marketing profile and update the slogan, your about me, your credentials, all the pieces in there, because when you update it in your marketing profile, your headshot, your logo also, it automatically goes to your website. It automatically goes to your app. It automatically goes out to the national KW website with your photo, with your about me profile. You just have to put it into the marketing profile, and Command takes care of putting it out to all those places on its own. So marketing profile is number 1. Number 2 is designs. How many of us use designs? 2, 3 of us, 4 of us. Designs, you can save all of these things in designs. So not that it'll just drop them into your designs, but it's there to be accessible when you do designs. You don't have to upload your headshot every time. And I'm going to put out a video for y'all since we don't have time today. I'm going to show you the video of how to get to all that. So if that's something you want to use for the 4 people who use designs, I'll put out the video to show you where that stuff goes in a quick 10-minute video, because it's easy. It's a one-time thing, and then it's there. That's the beauty of it. Because how many of us use Asia for our marketing? I do. And you see most of the people who raise their hand who use designs, they use Asia as well, because the rest of you aren't marketing yourself. Or you're using Canva. And Canva's cool too. I love Canva. It's great. It's great templates. But it's a lot more work for me when I have to load in everything, because Canva doesn't have a great memory. There is a branding section in Canva that you can do a lot of this as well. So it's available for you. None of it's automatic though still. But I do see, if you're loading this stuff into Command Designs, the automations of our designs is increasing every update in designs, where I really do see if you're saving, this is my name, this is my slogan, this is my website, this is my phone number, that at some point you're going to pick a template and it's just going to push all that information in as long as you set it up to do so. And there's a place that, again, that'll be in the video of designs of where to put all of that so you can start implementing your brand. Now, that's all I'm going to give you all there. We talked about your brand. We helped you discover your brand, talked about the AI and where to put it in Command. Action steps going forward from here. Number 1, edit and revise the answers that you gave in the worksheet that we went through. Number 2, That AI prompt is going to give you logo instructions around color, around vibe, around feeling based on your answers. Use that with a brand professional, or if you think you have the chops to brand professional, pretend to be your own brand professional, go for it. Try and make that logo. But I learned yesterday, if you're using Canva to create that logo, you're not legally allowed to use a logo out of Canva.
In terms of service, I think it's now.
Comes down to essentially licensing, that you don't have the commercial license to commercially utilize that work that you did in Canva as a logo or a trademark. You can use the design to put on your Facebook and commercially use it as marketing, but you can't use that commercial logo. And I'm not a lawyer, but I'll just tell you, if you're in Canva, you click the terms and conditions and you said you wouldn't do it. So don't, because it stinks to 2 years later, as Sean has experienced with a brand dispute around his name from another company in another state that said, you're infringing on our opportunity. And how long has it been to get a solution for this? Years?
God, it was not.
6, 7, 8 months of litigation and back and forth around trying to just be able to use his name. It wasn't even the logo, right? It was just the name, Milestone Homes, and some other place that wasn't even a real estate agent, right? Oh, it was. That's the kind of dispute that you don't want when you work hard on your brand. You're like, I'm going to do the easy thing and make it in Canva instead of hiring a professional who's going to make you an original file that belongs to you and only you, that you have protection around, instead of some other company having protection around like it does when you make it in Canva. So your logo is an important piece of this. It's not the whole story, but you need to work on it. You need to get something established. Even like, look at Rob's. It's literally his name and it works perfectly fine because he has something there for now. And when he's ready to evolve the brand, the logo will evolve with him. Put it in a command when you get there. I'm happy to help with any of that. And then get yourself out there. Use the messaging that you're using. Get that consistency going in your posts. If you're using ChatGPT, tell it what your tagline is, tell it what your vision is, and then say, make me a post that aligns with this. Do your little bit of 20% of edits and post that out there. Get it into your emails, get it into your email signature, get it into everywhere, because that consistency means going across every platform to do all of this. And I promise you, it's going to make an effect. None of it's instant. This is a long-term play with brand, but it will work. I've seen it work over and over again from not just the people Justin's worked with, people I've worked with, but across the board. Your brand will help you grow your business. Last year's Justin's information, again, if you didn't get it before, write down bisonsatellite.com. You can find the real estate page on there, but just have it in your back pocket in case you need them if today is not the right day. If today is the right day, scan the code and talk to this guy. And last, thank you for being here. I get to do what I do. I get to do what I love because y'all show up. If you stop showing up to my classes, I don't get to do my thing in here. Brian Smith doesn't think I should get paid to do what I do. And so I love having you all here. I appreciate you having you here. And I need your evaluations. I need your feedback. It only takes 1 minute to fill out this form. No, you don't need to say yes to a video, and no, you don't even need to put your name in there. You are fine to make this an anonymous survey. If you think something could have been better, put it in the comments. If you don't think that I was a 10 out of 10, put it in there. I like the good feedback in here. The more information you give me, the better I can make these classes. But I truly hope that you got a ton of value out of today, because I know sitting down here in the classes just teaching and hearing Justin talk, I put down a full 1.5 pages of notes. I've been thinking about my brand and what I can change, what I can make better, and I hope y'all got the same value out of today. I will be sticking around for a couple more minutes if you have any questions for me. Otherwise, thank you all again for being here, and we will see you next week and next month for more classes.